And for today's video, as the title suggests, I want to dive into one of the decks that I was able to acquire during Kickstarter that I think it's one of my favorites just because of how the design works and the way that all the cards have been laid out. It is the Tarotbot deck. And this is a deck that I have grown particularly fond of. And I think this is a deck that I think a lot of people will enjoy. I was one of the first few privileged people to acquire it through Kickstarter, as I had mentioned earlier. And I just want to go through the different cards that are within this deck, go through some of the pictures, and as well as some of the notable cards that are included within this deck that are not part of your traditional Rider-Waite deck. And how even the illustrations of some of these very unique cards really make this deck stand out with this huge vibrancy and contrast of colors, and how it just makes every little picture pop while still remaining on theme. So with that, let's get started. Initially, when this deck was being created and when it was launched on the Kickstarter, it really emphasized a lot into the very high contrast of colors that this deck brings, while still remaining on theme and on brand to a regular Rider-Waite deck. As the success of this deck through Kickstarter started growing even more, the people that were creating the deck decided to include additional cards that came with this deck. Additional cards that really allowed for you to expand on your readings, and then also allowed you to really explore other sides, that you don't have to be so constricted to the 78 card Rider-Waite deck, but also you can add on cards that really resonate with you. When you do readings with this deck, you can either have those particular cards included or removed from there, which I think makes it a little bit of a nice touch, because it allows you to add flexibility, and it also allows you to experiment a little bit more into what the intentions of the creators had. One of the things that I personally do love about this deck is, one, the theme of it, because you usually don't get to associate something so soulless or something that doesn't have a mind of its own, or something that doesn't really compute in a sense with humans, but rather something that seems to be a little bit more removed, and how you can integrate that into the world of tarot. In addition to that, I really find it fascinating on how this particular deck really uses the colors to its full capacity, that it makes them pop. And a lot of the same images that you have from this deck really translate to a traditional Rider-Waite deck. Because of the combination of all of these different things, it really makes the deck very unique. It makes it very easy for beginners to understand, and it's a really great deck to also add to a collection that you have. In addition, because of all of the hollows that come within there, such as the gold edging within the card and deck itself, and as well as seeing how much thought went into the back of the deck itself, really proves the attention to detail that it was brought into this particular. So without further ado, and probably the chunk of the content that you wanted to see was to go through the deck, and to see that this deck is so amazing. So as you see, even the back of the deck just has this beautiful gold that comes with it as well. It does have a glossy finish on the back. I think it's really great. Booklet that shows the Tarotbot. And then it just kind of gives a short explanation on all the different cards that are in it, whether they're major arcanas or whether they are minor. And as well as it gives an explanation into the additional cards that come into this deck, which is the Elder, the Pit, the Con Man, and the Anarchist. So they're all right here. And then this is just kind of what the deck looks like, which I think it's amazing. This is one of the best decks, and I really have no regrets. It's actually one of my favorite decks to use. that said, this pretty much covers everything that I wanted to touch about on the Tarotbot deck. As I mentioned before, this is one of my favorite decks to use, and there's nothing wrong that I can really find with this deck, and I think that's one of the most beautiful things about it. It really sticks to the theme as it is intended. It's very creative, it's very unique, and it really sticks to the rider weight as close as possible, which is just my personal preference. And this is why I really recommend this deck to anybody, or if this deck is for sale somewhere, I'll be sure to link it. But I initially found it on the Kickstarter, which I will link to as well on this video. So without further ado, thank you so much for watching this particular video. If you really like this content, feel free to subscribe, and I will be coming up with more series like this, as well as more beginner-friendly content if you want to start your journey into tarot. So without further ado, take care.